Let's create a pivotal impact. Friends in the industry. So one of the largest challenges the transportation industry is facing currently with respect to professional drivers is honestly recruiting and retention. So whenever I'm scrolling through social media platforms, I see an overabundance of organizations hiring, but there's noticeably less professional drivers in our industry collectively, especially looking. So one approach that I believe will help not only the recruitment of professional drivers in our industry and attract people to organizations, but also help retain their services is investing more time in creating a culture of appreciation and acceptance. So I'm Josh Hanbury, your host of the Truck Focus podcast, and our mission here at the podcast is simple. We're connecting transportation industry leaders to the industry to help create a pivotal change. So today I'm super excited as I speak with my friend Candace Harmony, owner of Fits Possible Trucking, who's on a mission to help change the lives of professional drivers and organizations within the transportation and logistic industries. Candace's story of how she even started Fits Possible Trucking is pretty amazing, and she quickly realized that professional drivers are often forgotten about and that they don't matter as the perception. Well, she's changing this with all of her years of experience in fitness and coaching, her skill sets. She's working closely with professional drivers and the community of organizations to help transform lives and empower the fact that they actually really do matter and they're treated as such. So I encourage you to learn more about Candace and Fits Possible Trucking by visiting fitspossibletrucking.com or just checking out Fits Possible Trucking on all social media platforms. So I look forward to the impact this conversation is going to have. Let's get to it. All right, Candace, super excited. Welcome to the Truck Focus podcast. Honestly, this to me is a big highlight for a number of reasons. First, I really value your mission. I really value the fact that you value people. And we're going to obviously dive into who is Candace Harmony, Fits Trucking Possible. But I really, like I said, I really admire that you care about professional drivers to one of the deepest extents I probably have ever connected with someone with, where I'm like, yes. So I get really excited in that space because I spend a lot of time advocating for the people and for the profession. So knowing that is literally your heartbeat, I think is phenomenal. So just super excited. So welcome to the podcast.
No, thank you. No, and thank you to everybody that's watching. I appreciate you taking your moment of your time to hear about me and hear about my mission. I'm here for you. No matter if you're a truck driver or whoever you are, you matter. And I'm just thankful that Josh invited me on here and I'm able to share a little bit of the mission that I'm blessed to be on.
Awesome. So I really appreciate that. I'm super grateful. So to start us off, why don't you give us a recap of who is Candace? And there's two ways that I hope we can go. So first, if you want to give us a recap of your journey in fitness, and then obviously getting it to a point where, again, the story that you shared on our initial call to me was just like, whoa, so powerful. So I hope we can go there too and share how you got to be where you are today with Fits Possible Trucking.
Absolutely. Well, one of the things about me is when it comes to life, we can't control life, but we can control how we handle what life throws at us. And for me, if we go all the way back from my childhood, for some people, it would kind of feel like you were raised by wolves, but I'm thankful for that because what I tell everybody, what was meant to break you can make you, and you can use it to help others. And for me, one of the things that helped me to channel, anger or channel what was going on or channel what was staying physical, getting out there and playing sports when I couldn't control what was going on at home or to me, I could, find a place of peace through movement and through exercise and through being in a community of people that are working as a team, so that was always like my way out. And then through that, I tell people all the time, the Lord saved me. He gave me an avenue through exercise and wellness. And then, I was blessed at 19 years old to be offered a job in health and wellness at a place called Aniston Family Fitness Center here in Alabama. That's where I'm from. My name is Candace. I guess I should have started with that. I'm Candace from Alabama. And the blessing behind it is I turned down the job at first because I was like, there's no way I can make enough money. I'm at this point, I have my oldest son and me, and I've got to provide. And what they offered me, I was just like, I can't do it, and lo and behold, not too far after that, I had a real encounter with the Lord. And after I did, I felt it deep in my spirit. Go back and ask him for the job. Don't worry about the money. If you do what you know you can do, everything else will be taken care of. So I went back, asked if they would still have the position, because I wasn't even expecting. I was just working out there and they offered me the job and I was like, no. And then here I am, I'm going back, and they took me. And at that moment, I met probably one of the most influential men of my life, and his name was Tom Buzon. He recently passed away. He was my mentor, and introduced me to many other mentors through books and tapes and cassettes. And not only was I put in a path of doing what I love and helping other people, at the same time, I was being transformed into who I was to become. So it was a really big blessing to me. And I honor him. He passed away at 85 and had an amazing life, and I thank God for him. So I started at 19 and I've been in fitness ever since, and I'm 38 now. So knocking on a little, almost 20 years, I've been doing fitness, wellness, life coaching, mindset coaching, because I've learned that it's way more than just an exercise problem or nutrition, or it's everything. It's learning the value of who you are. And I think so often most people do not realize that they're valuable, or they're made to feel bad for thinking that they are. It's no, you need to be humble. And humble doesn't mean you're devalued. Humble just means that you're not cocky, you're not conceited, but you know your value, and you know that your value doesn't mean that you are worth more than anyone else, but that you are still worth your value. So started that 19, going strong. I've done everything from cleaning toilets to personal training to the general manager of gyms to teaching, and certified, and probably more certifications than most, but not because I want certified. I just love to learn, and I love to figure out ways that I can help. So I don't get the certification, put it on the wall. I get it because there might be one thing that I learned from this certification that will help this person that I didn't know a way of helping, to get them introduced to taking care of themselves in a way that they enjoy. So, I know I've talked a lot, but, Fit's Possible is my base. And then Fit's Possible Trucking is a birth from that. But Fit's Possible is finding the fit that fits you. Fit is possible. With man, these things are impossible, but with God, all things are possible. And what fits you may not fit someone else, but there is a fit for you. And my goal is to help you find it. Even if I'm not the person that you do it with, if I can just play a part of helping you find that, mission accomplished.
Yeah, that's so powerful. Yes, completely agree. Are you familiar with Ed Milet? I think we talked about that before.
Yes, I love it. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yes.
Yeah. So when you said what's meant to break you, use it to make you, he says, allow your test to be your testimony. And I've repeated that to myself. I don't know how many times in various journeys over the last, I think I learned from like 3 or 4 years ago. So since that time, and I'm like, okay, this is a test. And then, you just shift your focus and say, okay, I'm going to allow this test be part of my testimony. And I like your perspective on the designations too, because I think some people, they'll take designations, and this isn't a bash to anyone, but almost so that way they can prove, okay, yes, I accomplished that. And it's almost proving self-worth instead of, I like your approach where it's like, if I can learn one thing that will ultimately help change the direction of someone's life, it's all worth it. And I am a massive believer in self-education, adult education, designations, if it's reading a book, whatever it is. So that way, it's that goal in mind. And that's something that when we first connected, I was like, man, you are really people focused. Like, to me, that's really cool, because I know it's a rare quality in people. And obviously coming at it from the trucking industry where we both really associate, I think it's really special just to be like, okay, you're investing so much time, energy, and life into helping other people. And that's been your track record for almost 20 years. I think that's really cool that you're at the point you are now as well. So before we go too far into Fits Possible Trucking, though, where do people go? Is it social media? Is it the website, so they can learn a little bit more just, about the overall mission?
So it's all things Fits, Fits, Possible, Possible, Trucking, Trucking. If you put that in any social media platform or add a .com at the end. So Fits Possible Trucking is my website. TikTok is probably the largest, most active platform that I'm on, that I'm the most consistent. Let's just say that. I try to be, I'm working on the consistency, y'all. Y'all have grace for me on but that is the one place that I make sure. And then continuous. And then you've got Instagram. You also have Facebook. You've got Twitter. You've got all things to come in the future if you're watching this 20 years from now. But pretty much if you Google Fits Possible Trucking, you're going to probably land somewhere in my world. And I'm thankful for that. It's crazy because you say Emilet. So I'm going to show you something. Okay, this was in my pocket and I carry it with me. I sleep with it. I carry it with me everywhere I go. And it's kind of just like a reminder, like even if I read it every morning and I read it before I go to sleep at night. And then I'll, throughout the day, I pull it out of my pocket, I read it, or I just touch it. It's just a reminder. And on it says, treat each person like they matter, that like they are the most important person in the world, because they are.
Hey, Josh here. Just a quick interruption of Candace and I's conversation, as I really want to encourage you to learn more about Fits Possible Trucking. So visit fitspossibletrucking.com, or the same thing on all social media platforms. I've also included direct links in the show notes. Let's get back to the episode. Whoa.
I keep that because so often, and I'm guilty of this, we get busy. We got to get here. We got to do this. But that, even in the morning with my children, if I'm busy and I run across somebody, like today, I was leaving from where I work out at, and I ran it, and I hit my hands on my sides and I touched it, and I remember treating them like, don't be in a rush. Stop and actually treat this person, not because you're acting, because they are the most important person in the world. And every single person, every bit of your day is. And reminding ourselves to treat people like it, because they are. And so I keep that fresh, and I try to keep that, like, reprogramming to not be on the Ferris wheel of busy, but to know that if you do and are present where you are, everything else will work out where it needs to be. And so that's the thing for me. And when it comes to how do I go from fitness here in this world to the trucking, I call it an absolute God blessing. People ask me all the time, so what you did the first time we talked, they're like, so what got you into trucking? Like, what made you? And the only response that I can give people is God. And I tell everybody, you don't have to believe in what sent me, but I'm here. And, and I'm here because I was literally, my heart was opened up and sewed in the trucking industry and, given a mission. So, one day, have you ever had one of those moments where, for me, everybody has their own place that they kind of just find their own peace or talk or whatever. Like for me, forever, it was in my car, because I was Miss Busybody. I was here, there, and everywhere. And the only time I really got to think would be in my car. And it's crazy because no matter what car I've had, the radio always breaks in it. Always. My car that I have now is the only car that the radio has not broke yet.
Knock on wood.
Yes, right. But every single car I've had, the radio go, and I'm like, okay, God, I'm not gonna listen to the radio. It's just me and you, okay? Because this is what it is. People are like, won't you fix? Nope, that happens every time. It's supposed to be what it is. So at this particular time, I was doing fitness. I was, teaching at the university here. I was teaching fitness. I was teaching at my local church. I was teaching in a studio. I was teaching all these places. And I was just at this place where I felt like I was putting a Band-Aid on a bullet hole in a lot of things in my life. And I was like, Lord, I know my intentions are good. I know I see the wound, and I'm trying, but I'm not feel like I'm healing. I don't feel like I'm doing anything with it. And I felt like there was more. I felt like there was something I wasn't doing, but I was supposed to, and I didn't know what it was. So at this particular day, I had to get on the interstate, and I had gotten on the interstate, and I was just talking to the Lord, and I was in my think tank. Me and him were talking. And when I say talking, I'm pretty much talking to myself. But a lot of times people say, well, what does the voice of the Lord sound like? And I tell people, it's the voice that you hear that sounds like yours, but is saying what you don't normally want to hear.
Yeah.
Because if it was you, you would want to do it. If it was you, you would already thought about it. If it was you, you wouldn't hesitate on going and give that $20 or going over here and encouraging or going, because you're like, oh, wait, no, that's God. Because if it was you, you would just be doing what you want to do. It's going against what you don't want to do or wasn't even thinking about. So at this particular time, this was an actual encounter. This moment was different. And I'm veering onto the I-20. And I'm just like, Lord, what is it that you want me to do? I know you gave me fitness, but I feel like there's somebody that I'm not out here doing it for. And there's something more. And I told you this last time, and it's so true because I can feel it. Every time I tell this story, I get tears in my eyes, and I go right back to the moment because it was so real and humbling and everything. So all of a sudden, after I asked that question, the darkest, nastiest, ugliest feeling I have ever experienced just comes and sits in the car with me. And Josh, I'm like, I've had some ugly things happen to me in my life, but I never felt anything like this. I tell people it felt like a wet blanket, when just that cold, icky, nasty, ugh. And I'm driving, I'm like, okay, wait a minute. What's going on? Like, what is this, Lord? What is this feeling? And I never forget, I heard the words, they're forgotten about and they think they don't matter. And I'm steady driving, and I'm like, who, Lord? Who's forgotten about? Who thinks that they don't matter? And then if anybody out there, if anything's ever been in front of you that you didn't realize until the time, I heard the words, they are. And as soon as I heard those words, they are, I realized that in front of me is a truck, beside me is in a truck, and behind me is a truck. I'm completely encamped on I-20. And I knew that's exactly who he was talking about. And I just started crying because I'm convicted. Because honestly, I had never thought about truck drivers. I had never heard anybody in all my years of fitness, never heard anybody talk about all the certifications, all the conferences, all the places I've been, all the magazines I've read. I mean, I indulge this because I love it. Never once anything about truck drivers. And I just started saying, I'm sorry. I'm sorry, Lord. I'm sorry. And I was like, what do you want me to do? And the last thing I heard was create something to get them healthier, happier, and let them know they matter. And at that moment, everything lifts out my car. And I'm steady trying to, driving it. And I'm still, okay, I'm going to do it. I'm just crying. And I'm looking at the truck drivers. And now I think they're probably fussing at me because I'm right here in the worst spot. They hate when people do that. And here I am. I didn't know that at that time. And then they're probably seeing me cry. I'm going to help you, because I'm having a whole moment on the, okay, and I mean, just ugly crying, just ugly. And my church is actually not a few exits up. I drive straight to my church. I go find my path. I was like, I tell you about what just happened. It's just that real of a moment. And At that moment, the internet was not like it is now. Websites weren't easy as they are now to be built. I knew nothing about trucking because I was not connected to anybody personally, like that was a truck driver. So the one thing I knew I could do is I could get a pen, I could get a piece of paper, and I could start researching. And that's what I did. I have so many notebooks about truckers. If you're a truck driver and you've ever felt like somebody was watching you when you were in the gas station because you had one side of earpiece, because that's usually like the designated way to know, identify a truck driver, do they only have one side of the headset? And you felt like somebody was watching, it was me. I was trying, I give up, it was me. I was trying to watch what you're doing so that I could study you. And I probably tapped you on the shoulder and told you what I was trying to figure out, talk to you. But that's one of the things, that's what I started. And that's kind of and you know, I could keep talking, but I want to talk to you in the process.
So powerful. And that's why I like, so you hit a passion moment really fast. And I like the fact that you're comfortable sharing your story, because I think there's too much reservation and good news these days where, oh, I don't know if I should share that. And oh, I don't know. So I like that you can go all out. And the fact that your advocacy really did shift, that was, to me, I call it those pivotal moments where,
absolutely.
and I love the fact that we have common faith. I think that's really important. And seeing your expression. So those that are listening, hop on YouTube and watch this, because watching Candace's expression, like literally your face shifted from passion to empathy and compassion and grace, and literally your eyes getting filled with water. I had to like, okay, deep breath, like, because there's so much truth
right
in
now,
you.
it's just just real.
Yeah.
When I would tell people about the story before now, like the few people that I shared it with, I would always touch them. And I was like, what God showed me as real as me and as I'm touching you right now. That's how real it was. And to now be what I just didn't know where or how or what, but to see what the Lord trusted me with. Because, for some people don't realize, like, this is a mission. And I feel like the weight of responsibility, it was such a responsibility, and it is to me, to make sure that I put, you know what I mean? Like whatever part that I'm supposed to play, that I do it. And almost every single day I cry since this has happened, since I've actually started, from hearing truckers' testimonies, from getting there, them inboxing me and hearing this message and hearing that, like, it'll never get old to me.
Yeah.
And it's not me. And like I tell them, it's not Candace. God put me in this path. So if you ever feel like you are alone in that truck, I'm here today to tell you, in every empty seat in your life, the Lord is sitting in it. And he cares about you. How do I know? Because he stopped a freight train, which is me, doing everything I was doing in my tracks on I-20, to come and share a message just for you.
Powerful. Oh, so good. So needed. And that's the thing, is I think the fact that you heard language like forgotten and that they don't matter, to me, when you first shared that, it really hit, I would say it hit home, because I remember those feelings. And part of it, like when I was operating over the road, was the fact that I was told that. And like, I'm a big believer in eliminating the word just from your vocabulary. You're not just your job title. And that gave me, yeah. And yeah, I remember getting angry when I was operating, and I'm like, I would always identify as a professional. And yeah, the fact that someone would try and label me and limit me, I was just like, no, I'm not just that. And that was a big part. So when you talk about mission, that's a huge part of our mission. Is part of it's introducing leaders, but part of it is shifting mindsets and empowering people to say, no, you are so much more than that. You bring to our world as a human being way more than what your job scope is or what your career choice is, because ultimately what you do impacts society, your family. Yes, it impacts your employer. And yeah, so when you're sharing those things with me, I'm just like, oh, so much validation, because it's true. And the fact that there's millions of professional drivers out there, some identify as like they have a CDL, they have a commercial driver's license. Then there's some that don't. They think, well, I'm not a driver, I drive a cube van. And it's like, yeah, you are. Yeah, you're still serving, you're still operating as a professional. So you're in that space. And yeah, the fact that your awakening was really powerful, but the fact that you've actually ran with it too, because there's a lot of people, oh, it's a great idea, thanks. And then that's as far as it goes. I'm glad your story is so much more than that. And I'm glad the fact that you're investing so much time and energy, passion, tears, probably some calloused blood, like all the good stuff. So that way it's just like, no. Let me show you, you matter, because maybe right now you're at a place where you don't feel like it. And I know a lot of our feedback, even from podcast listeners, is, wow, you actually make me feel empowered, or you gave me some clarity, or whoever I was speaking to provided clarity in my, like in their own journey. And it's like, good. I'm glad, because then that's to me, it's one of the biggest compliments you can get. So the fact that you're installing that in people, and not just a good conversation, but obviously there's programs, there's coaching, there's mindset, there's nutrition, like there's so many value adds where it's like, no, I'm going to show you, you matter. So that way, yeah. And then it's the domino effect from there, where you can tell when someone's smiling in a dark place. You can tell when someone's having a good day, when most people are bitter and complaining. You're kind of like, you're different. Why are you different? And then you'd be like, well, life's good. I got a lot to be grateful for. You're like, and why I can say that confidently is when, so similar to down south in the States, there's oil fields in northern Alberta where I'm in Alberta, but north of me. And people would always give me the hardest time because I'm typically nice and typically on the happier side. They'd always give me, like, razz me so hard. And it came to a point where I'm like, you know what? You'll mock me now, but you'll remember me later. And you'll remember the fact that, hey, I wish Josh was, maybe not me as a person, but my attitude. I'm like, I wish he was still here, because he didn't cuss me out if I made a joke. He'd laugh and say, oh yeah. And then because he just kind of went with it. And I think too many people get so squeezed, especially in professional drivers' careers, where they teach themselves eventually, okay, I guess I don't matter. And then they go home, and we're habitual human beings. So if you think you don't matter at work, you literally have the same mindset when you go home, if you realize it or not, which, again, I say all this to feed to why I'm so proud of what you're doing and why I know it's so needed, because it's ultimately, you're not just shifting someone's perspective in their career now, but you're actually shifting generations. So if I'm a dad, if I was at work and I was like, oh, I guess it don't matter. I guess this doesn't matter. Oh, this is bad. This is bad. I go home. What do my kids see? What are their kids going to see? What are their kids' going to see? So the fact that you're shifting generations, to me, is just like, whew, gets me so pumped, because it's so needed. It's been needed for a long time. So I say all that to compliment your journey, and the fact that you didn't take it as a, like, oh, that was great, and then that was it. You took it as, no. This is my mission now. I have to own this, and I'm owning it, and I'm changing lives, and this gets me stoked. So anyway, I'm grateful for what you're doing. It means a lot. So it's good.
Well, I'm grateful for the same. Like, like I said, it's a responsibility, and I feel it. And, to encourage anybody that's out there listening, because you do hear, okay, she was given this and now she's doing it. But let's talk about the transition time in the middle, forever. And I was sharing this story last week with two of the ladies that heard about this, and before anybody, besides my pastor, like the very rare people that I shared this with, because it was so it just was not, if you saw Candace, you were not going to think you're going to hear something about trucking with me. I mean, that's just like, so for when I shared it, but they believed in it. Well, anybody normally that, because it wasn't me. Does it make sense? Like, it was what it was. So I was sharing with them. I said, forever, y'all, I thought I was behind. I thought I was procrastinating. I felt guilty because I was like, Lord, please, I'm going to do this. I know, help me. I don't know how do I transition? Where do I start? I'm doing all this research. I'm writing all these notes down. I have notebooks of information. I'm learning about, their health statistics, and then what about drivers and all this stuff. But I just felt, and forever, I just thought I was procrastinating, but I've learned that I was not procrastinating. The Lord was preparing. And I want to encourage everybody. You may feel like be given a dream or be given an idea, or there might be something inside of you that's burning for you to do something. And you feel like, okay, I'm procrastinating, or no, you may be in cultivation season, because oak trees are some of the most biggest, beautiful trees, but they all start with an acorn. Everything has to start as a seed form, and it gives to you as a seed. And that seed is in a dark place. Nobody can see it. Nobody knows it's there besides either God who put it there, or the farmer or person, gardener that planted it. And they have to prepare it. They have to cultivate it. It has to break from being a seed to become what it's called. It has to push through the darkness. It has to not know, but it has to keep going and feels the pressure, because the pressure is what's going to hold it down. But in the process, it's got to push through it. And it doesn't know what's the point. I know I see the light at the end of the tunnel. And then even when it finally breaks through, it still has so much more to still grow. So I say that to say, don't negate the acorn where you are. Continue to nurture it, water it. And when it's time, it's going to grow. That you're not procrastinating. You're not being delayed. You're being prepared. And what you're being prepared for is going to be able to hold you down so that you can handle the mission, because you got to be prepared before you're given. And, that's a blessing that now I thank God, Lord, I thank you, and I tell people all the time, I used to just want things. And because I felt like I could do it, I would try to, I can do it. So and then I learned what's more important, even though you may have something that you could give to the room that people are in there doing, or the things, before you get in the room, you need to make sure your character gets there first. Are you prepared? Even though you can do it, is your character ready for it? Are you able to withstand the calling and the weight that's going to come along with it? So even though you may be gifted at it, make sure that your character is going to keep you where your gift gets you. And, that's the biggest thing for me. And, with this, when it comes to Fitz Postal Trucking, I'm just taking it one step at a time. Learning, I'm one of those, I'm big on integrity. And I'm like, how can I tell you how it feels to walk a mile in your shoes if I ain't never walked it? I don't let people call me a trucker, but I did go through CDL school because I wanted to learn. I wanted to learn what it took to become a professional commercial driver. I wanted to learn what it felt like to sit in that seat. And as many notebooks as I have, and as many conversations I've spoke with people about trucking, the difference between learning it, hearing it, and sitting in the seat of a 18-wheeler, and the responsibility that you sit in the first time you get in that seat, is a whole nother world. And you'll never know it or understand what it feels like until you sit in it.
Oh, yeah.
And I did. And I learned so much. I do eventually want to have my own truck, but not necessarily to move freight, but more to get out and move the mission, to help truckers have morale events, and where we pull up and we just bless everybody and encourage them and continue to move the mission of wellness. And wellness encompasses the entire person, not just health, not just wealth. It's mentally, physically, relationally, socially, nutritionally, every aspect of your life, to help. While you're out there making sure the world keeps moving, we help you and your world move with you. So from surviving while you drive to thriving, that's the mission. And I'm thankful to be it, because I'm a CDL holder. I tell people right now I'm a CDL holder, because it is an absolute honor to be called a trucker in my eyes. And I'm not that, because I'm not doing it every day. But there's millions of truck drivers that are, and they deserve the honor, because you should be honored as a truck driver.
Yes, totally agree. And I didn't know that you had your CDL and went through training. Mm-hmm. And that makes that makes sense from the global perspective too, because that is so cool. And so when you were talking about your character and integrity, what I often speak on is legacy. And I don't
Mhm.
speak on legacy as in a morbid thing, but more of an intentional
Mhm.
relationship and conversational component where if I know I'm going into a room, how am I going to interact? And when I leave that room, what impact am I going to create? And
Mhm.
part of that thought process literally is for professional drivers to say, okay, when I'm interacting with traffic, when I'm interacting with my dispatcher, when I'm interacting with a customer, how do I want to be remembered? How do
Mhm.
I want to operate? And that's where, like, I'm really keen on saying professional driver,
Mhm.
because not every not every driver is a professional. But
Mhm.
being a professional driver it's a choice. It's an intentional thing, but you're building a legacy. And it's the same thing, thought process. When you go home, you're the same kind
Mhm.
of person. So the fact that you went there too, I thought was really cool, because I like asking people's perspectives on legacy and on impact. So I'm glad that you mentioned that. And I also really support the advocacy that you're going to do when you have your own truck. I could totally see it just being, if it's a 53-foot dry van, just deckled up, and then inside can be whatever it is that you're going to do. Totally see that happening too. I think that's really smart. So good job.
That one step at a time. The main thing is getting in it and then following the steps that the Lord gives me in order the process of doing it. And it's funny how you said how you operate. When you keep saying, like, when you walk into the room, the professional. There's a quote that I share a lot and I love it. It's not necessarily a quote, but it's a thought pattern. A lot of people, a lot of people operate as a thermometer when they were absolutely given the right to be a thermostat. And you might be saying, what do you mean? Now, I know you're not, but for all the listeners out there, you are a thermostat. You are not a thermometer. And if nobody's ever told you, you do not have to let the atmosphere that you are in set you, because that's what thermometers do. You are a thermostat. You set the atmosphere and no longer allow the atmosphere to set you. Because every room and every place and everywhere you are on the road, in your home, in your car, in a meeting, no matter what it is, you are a thermostat. So set it wherever you want it to be and allow everything else to adjust to you. But just make sure you're setting it in a way, like Josh says, that leaves a legacy that keeps people talking and being thankful for you instead of talking about you.
Oh, that's so powerful. Honestly, Candace, I'm just so grateful for your honesty. I can tell you genuinely care about people, and I really admire the mission that you're on, because I deeply know how bad it is needed. Where there's millions of people that need what you're bringing to the table, what you're cooking up. So I'm super grateful. And just as we do come to a close, can you give us just a rundown again? I really want to make sure our listeners know, and of course, I add all the links in the show notes, but I want people to know where they can connect with you, how they can connect with you, and just really support your journey as well through that.
Appreciate it. So, two of the main things right now is the Fits Possible Trucking course. Okay, the course is a wellness course that corporations, if you're a trucking corporation, there's a lot of corporate wellness, certifications and programs, but there's not trucking focused wellness courses. And that is what is being developed. So, I'd love to either help your HR department or your wellness department if you already have one, if you're drawn to what I'm teaching or a part that I could possibly just come beside what you're already doing that's amazing and share that course with your HR, or come in as a consultant to help figure out a way to launch it and provide it to your truck drivers and your whole community. I mean, because dispatchers matters, brokers matters, owners matter, every person matters. And figuring out the right fit for you, I would love that. And it's not just about exercise, it's not just about nutrition, it's about rest, it's about sleep, it's about social, it's everything. And for me, my way of thinking is let's figure out ways that the truck drivers are already living and implement it in, instead of trying to give them another list of things to add. So my goal is teaching ways to incorporate with what you're already doing, the things that can help you along the way. So that's the type of segment that I kind of bring in. So if you're interested in that, again, fitspossibletrucking.com or Candace, Candace at fitspossibletrucking.com for my email and all social media platforms. Again, if you're just an individual driver, listen, you matter too. I have a community and I have that same course for you so that you can connect to a community that's moving in that direction, that can come beside you, that know where you're at, you may not be in the same shoes, but at least you're willing to walk beside each other with the shoes that you're wearing to head in a direction that you want to go. And that's what we've created. Contact me. I would love to get you in that program. If it's something that you're interested in, you're worth investing in, and you're worth being connected to people that are going to sow positivity into you and encourage you along the way of changing from just surviving to thriving, or if you're already thriving, another group to thrive with.
Oh, that's so awesome. Thank you so much for that. And I just really appreciate your time. I really value your time. I value how you're serving so passionately. A couple things that you said give me like those like tingle feelings. I'm just like, yes, I get really excited. So I'm just super grateful. And thanks again so much for taking the time to join me, obviously, on the podcast. And the podcast episode, the newsletter will already be out. So anyone that's listening, check out the Truck Focus newsletter because Candace was gracious enough to include some really good content in there too. But just Candace, thank you so much again. I really value your time and super grateful that you came on the podcast. Thank you.
Absolutely. And let's just all give a round of applause for Josh for out here doing this. Even if you're on the podcast, you can clap for him. He'll feel that energy where you're at. Creating a place for what you do. I think sometimes as a listener or a viewer, you think it's just a plug and play, but there's so much that goes behind, doing what you do. And, for you to be a way for people to allow their voices and their missions to be heard, I just thank you for that. I thank you for what you've done. I thank you for what you're doing for your family. I know that you're going through some training right now that's going to help even more in everything that you're doing. So thank you for that, because time is valuable and who we spend our time with matters. And I appreciate being a part of that. And, just for anybody that's out there, just know that you're not alone. And when you are alone, it might be for you to learn how to be alone and enjoy your own company. Because sometimes our worst enemy is ourselves. And there's a proverb, not a biblical, but it's a Chinese proverb, but I still like it. It says, when there's no enemy within, the enemy without can do us no harm. Les Brown says that. And what it means is when you are no longer an enemy of yourself, it doesn't matter the enemies that might come against you, because it's not the enemies around you that'll take you down. It's the enemies that you allow in you. So today's a good day to no longer be your enemy, to know that you're valuable, to live the life that was designed for you to live, and knowing that success doesn't look like anybody else's success for your life. But you need to take time to define what is enough, what legacy do you want to leave, and what can you do today to start working towards it? Because if you have a mind that you can still use, a beat in your chest, and lungs that can still breathe with, you have everything you need to make it. In your age, not your circumstances, not where you are, not who's there with you or who's not, has anything to do with you becoming the best version of you.
Powerful. Oh, that's so good. Oh, it's such a great ending, such a great takeaway. So appreciate that. Appreciate your advocacy. Honestly, thank you so much. Awesome.
I appreciate y'all. Y'all are a blessing. Y'all are a blessing, blessing, blessing. And what's for you, nobody else can take from you.
Yes. Awesome.
Thank you.
Thanks. Okay. Thanks again. Oh, I'm so jacked. Appreciate it. Okay. Bye. Candace, honestly, thank you so much for taking the time joining me on the Truck Focus podcast and for sharing your mission, because you are honestly impacting so many professional drivers' lives. It's just phenomenal. So I really value your mission, and I equally am excited for the impact that you're having, as the services that you provide and the mentorship that you're providing is so desperately needed. So I highly recommend that if you're interested in learning more about Candace and Fits Possible Trucking, to visit fitspossibletrucking.com or simply simply check out Fits Possible Trucking on all social media platforms. So if this is the first time you've ever checked out the Truck Focus podcast, I really want to welcome you to our community. And as to all of our dedicated listeners, I just want to continue to say thank you so much for your investment of time. I really believe that today Candace brought so much value. She shared her story, but more so she shared how she's really dedicated in impacting the lives of so many people in our industry. I'm super grateful. So again, Candace, thank you so much. To all of our listeners, thank you so much. If you did find value like I hope you had today, make sure that you like this episode, share it out so that way more people can learn about the mission that Candace is on, as well as subscribe to the channel that you're listening to. So that way you're notified when upcoming episodes occur. We release an episode at least once weekly, and I'm introducing you to tons of industry leaders, just like Candace, truly do care about our industry and is making a huge difference. So as always, let's create a pivotal impact.